Hi. In this session, we are going to discuss some problems on Fourier cosine transforms and Fourier sine transforms. So let's solve a simple one. Let's consider a function f of x is equal to 1 if 0 less than or equal to x less than or equal to c, where c being a real constant, and equal to 0 if x is greater than c. And we are looking for the Fourier sine transform and Fourier cosine transform of the given function. So let us start with the Fourier sine transform. So the Fourier sine transform, by definition, it is root of 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity f of x into Fourier sine transform, so it is sine omega x into dx, and that's equal to 2 by pi root of 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity f of x is okay, from uh, 0 to 1, the value of f of x is 1, so it is 0 to 1 into sine omega x dx. Then from 1 to infinity, the value is not up to 1, up to c. Okay. From 0 to c, the value is 1, and from c to infinity, the value is 0. So the remaining integral will become equal to 0. Now this is equal to 2 by pi root of 2 by pi into sine omega x. The integral of sine omega x is minus cos omega x divided by omega in between the upper limit is c and lower limit is 0. Now by substituting the upper limit and lower limit, it's equal to root of 2 by pi into upper limit is c and lower limit is 0. Cos 0 is 1, and the upper limit is minus cos c omega divided by omega minus of minus, that is plus 1 by omega. We can rewrite it as the Fourier sine transform is represented by f hat suffix c of omega is equal to root of 2 by pi into, this can be written as 1 minus cos c omega divided by omega. So this is our Fourier sine transform. Now we calculate the Fourier sine Fourier, this is Fourier sine transform. Now we calculate the Fourier cosine transform. It's equal to root of 2 by pi into integral, as in the similar case, as in the previous case, the value of x varies from 0 to infinity, but from 0 to c the value is 1, and after that it is 0, into cos omega x dx. That's equal to root of 2 by pi into integral integral of cos omega x is sine omega x divided by omega in between 0 and c, and that's equal to root of 2 by pi into, the upper limit is sine c omega divided by omega, and lower limit sine 0 is equal to 0. So this is our function. So this is our Fourier um, cosine transform of the function. So that's how we calculate the Fourier sine transform and Fourier cosine transform of functions. Now consider another example. We have 2 root of 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity f of x into sine omega x dx is equal to 1 if 0 less than omega less than 1 and equal to 2 if 1 less than omega less than 2, and here it is less than or equal to, and here also we have less than or equal to, and equal to 0 if omega greater than or is equal to 2. And actually this kind of an expression is usually known as integral equations, and we have to solve the integral equation. So solve the integral equation. So as you know, by the time solving a differential equation, we are looking for a function y is equal to f of x, and which satisfies the differential equation. In a similar way, solving the integral equation, we are looking for a function f of x which satisfy the integral equation. So actually what we are looking for is the value of f of x. So what we have to calculate is the value of f of x. Now, if you observe this integral, then it is nothing but the Fourier transform of a function. Fourier sine transform actually, f of x into sine omega x dx, integrating from 0 to infinity and multiplied with root of 2 by pi. So exactly it is a Fourier sine transform of some function. And the output is given. The Fourier sine transform is 1 if omega take a value in between 0 and 1, and is equal to 2 if omega takes a value in between 1 and 2, and equal to 0 otherwise, or if equal to 0 if omega is greater than 2. So we can calculate or find out the function by just taking the inverse Fourier sine transform of the function on the right hand side. So that is, if the function given in the right hand side is f hat omega, f hat c of omega, then its inverse Fourier transform will give the inverse Fourier transform will give our function f of x. So f of x is equal to the inverse Fourier transform is again defined by square root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity f of omega into inverse Fourier sine transform. So it is sine omega x into d omega, and this is equal to 2 by pi is a common factor, and as the value of omega varies from 0 to infinity, it takes three different values. From 0 to 1, it takes the value 1, so 1 into sine omega x d omega, plus from 1 to 2 take a value 2, so 2 into sine omega x d omega. Then from 2 to infinity, the value is 0 into sine omega x d omega. Anyway, the last integral is 0. Now this is equal to root of 2 by pi into first integral sine omega x. The integral is minus cos omega x divided by omega in between 0 and 1, plus 2 is a constant, then into cos omega x divided by omega, and there's a minus sign also, so this minus in between 1 and 2, then the third integral is 0. Now this is equal to, just substitute the upper limit and lower limit. Sorry, there is a small mistake. We are integrating with respect to omega, so the term here is not omega, it is x. We are integrating with respect to omega, and x is taken as a constant. Now this is equal to root of 2 by pi into upper limit minus cos omega is equal to 1, so it is cos x divided by x, minus cos 0, cos 0 is 1 by x, then minus 2 into, minus 2 is a common factor, so that's taken outside, then upper limit cos 2x by x minus cos x by x, this 2 is common for those two terms, and that's equal to root of 2 by pi into, here we have a 1 by x as a common factor, so x over, um, here we have 1 minus cos x minus 2 cos 2x, then here we have a minus into minus, that is plus, plus 2 cos x. So there is there we have two terms of cos 2x and 2 cos x. Here we have a minus cos x, so we can simplify it as 2 by pi into 1 is a constant, then minus cos x minus of minus, that is plus 2 cos 2x, so what we have is a plus cos x, then minus 2 cos 2x all divided by x. So this is our required solution to the given integral equation. So this is our f of x. And if you calculate the Fourier transform of this particular f of x, what we get is nothing but the given function. So that's another application of Fourier sine transform or Fourier transform in general. So another question, let us calculate the Fourier transform of, find, the question is to find Fourier transform of f of x is equal to pi by 2 when 0 less than x less than 1, that's not equal to 1, and is equal to 0 when x is greater than 1. It's a simple function, but there is a problem. Here we have to find the Fourier transform and not the Fourier sine transform or Fourier cosine transform. So if you plot this function in the xy plane, the value of f of x is equal to pi by 2, it is pi by 2, then value is equal to pi by 2 from 0 to 1, and after that the function takes the value 0. So this is our function. Now the Fourier transform of a function is defined, or Fourier transform is defined for a function which is defined from minus infinity to plus infinity. So here this particular function is already defined for values from 0 to infinity. So we can find the Fourier transform only by extending it into the negative real part 2. So directly we cannot find out the Fourier transform. But if we extend this particular expression, this particular function, to the negative real line or negative x-axis, then we can have two kinds of extensions. Either we can extend this function as a symmetric function from, say, from 0 to 1 we have pi by 2. So in a similar way, from 0 to minus 1 we have f of x is equal to pi by 2, and after that it takes the value 0. So that is one way of extending the function into the native side. And there is another way we can extend it as so here f of minus x is equal to f of x. That is, it's an even type of extension. So the same function can be extended as an odd function, as say, like here if it is 0, then it is equal to pi by 2 from 0 to 1, and from minus 1 to 0 we take the value as minus pi by 2. So here it is minus pi by 2. This is pi by 2. So this is another type of extension of the same function, and this is an odd extension because f of minus x is equal to minus of f of x. Then for in these two kind of extensions we can have two different uh, Fourier transforms for the same function. So if we extend the function into the negative axis, um, if it is an odd function, f of x is an odd function, um, then what we get is, say here, if f of x is an odd function, then what we get is a cosine transform. And in the first case, if it is an even function, then what we get is a sine transform. And therefore, say, we can have a Fourier cosine transform or Fourier sine transform for the same function. Now, let us start with calculating the Fourier cosine transform. Anyway, the transformation is almost the same as 2 by pi integral. We can have a non-zero value only from 0 to 1, and after that the value is 0, so it is pi by 2 into uh, cos omega x dx is equal to 2 by pi into, this is pi by 2, that's a constant as far as the time is concerned, and cos omega x has the integral sine omega x divided by omega in between 0 and 1. So this is equal to this root 2 and 2 get cancelled, pi and root pi get cancelled. So what we get is root of pi by 2 into sine omega divided by omega, and the lower limit is sine 0 0. So this is our Fourier cosine transform of the given function. So in a similar way, we can calculate the Fourier sine transform as integral 0 to 1 pi by 2 into sine omega x dx and into 2 by pi. That is equal to, as in the previous case, pi by 2, root of pi by 2 into uh, cos omega x divided by omega, so minus sign in between 0 and 1. So this cos omega x by minus omega is nothing but the integral of sine omega x. We take this pi by 2 outside the integral, and that's pi by 2 and 2 by pi they get cancelled, and what remains is square root of pi by 2, and that's equal to square root of pi by 2 into the upper limit is minus cos omega divided by omega, and the lower limit is cos 0, that is 1 by omega. Here we have a minus, and so it becomes plus. Now that's equal to pi by 2 into omega is a common factor. We can write the positive term first. So it is 1 minus cos omega divided by omega. So that's the Fourier sine transform of the given function. And uh, we already calculated that the Fourier cosine transform of f of x is equal to pi by 2 root of pi by 2 into sine omega by omega. And Fourier sine transform of f of x is equal to root of pi by 2 into 1 minus cos omega all divided by omega. Now, if we take this equation number 1 and this equation number 2, now if we take the inverse Fourier transform of equation number 1, then what we get is f of x is equal to root of 2 by pi, root of 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity root of pi by 2 into sine omega by omega into cos omega x d omega. So that is how we define the inverse cosine transform of a function. So from here we can write as f of x is equal to, if we rearrange take this term outside, then root of pi by 2 into here pi and pi, root of pi by 2 and pi by 2 get cancelled, and what remains is here we take, if we take this pi by 2 outside, then root of pi get cancelled, root of 2 get cancelled, and what remains is integral 0 to infinity sine omega cos omega x divided by omega d omega. So this is our inverse Fourier transform. This is merely an expression, and I would like to mention one thing. If you observe this integrand, the variable of integration is omega, and omega varies from 0 to infinity. If you evaluate this particular integral, it will coincide with f of x, and the value of f of x is known. F of x is equal to pi by 2 when x varies from 0 to omega, is equal to pi by 2 when 0 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1, and equal to 0 if x is greater than 1. So this is a nice way to find out the value of an integral. But there is one more thing. If you clearly observe this function f of x, then the function f of x is continuous for all values of x from 0 to infinity except at the point 1. So at this particular point 1, if you observe this function, or if you consider the map of the function, it is continuous from 0 to 1, and from 1 to infinity also take a value 0 and it is continuous. But at the point 1, if we consider the right hand limit and left hand limit, they will not coincide, and therefore the function is not continuous. Here we have a sharp jump, and in this particular case, what we have is the value of the inverse Fourier transform, that is nothing but what we obtained as an integral here, will coincide with the average of right hand limit and left hand limit of the function at that particular point. So there is a small correction needed uh, while rewriting the inverse Fourier transform. The inverse Fourier transform will coincide with pi by 2 for all values of x from 0 to 1, and for all values which is greater than 1, it will coincide with exactly the value of the function. But at the point 1, there is a problem. At this particular point 1, when x is equal to 1, the integral or the inverse Fourier transform is given obtained as an integral here, and this integral will have a value which is the average of right hand limit and left hand limit of the function at this point. And the as we approach the point 1, from the right hand side the value is approaching 0, and if we approach 1 from the negative axis or negative side, or if we increase to the point 1, the value is pi by 2 and it turns to pi by 2. So the average of pi by 2 and 0, that is 0 plus pi by 2 divided by 2, that is pi by 4. So at this point x is equal to 1, the inverse Fourier transform will give a value pi by 4, and for all other values this will coincide with the original value of the function. So that is a thing which is to be noted about the Fourier transform and the inverse Fourier transform. So usually when we take the inverse of something, what we expect is the exactly the same input. But here, when we take the inverse, it will coincide with the average of right hand limit and left hand limit at a point at which the function f of x is discontinuous. And if the function f of x is continuous, then the inverse transform will recover the original function. That's a property of Fourier transforms and its inverse transforms. This particular property is common for all Fourier sine transform, Fourier cosine transform, and Fourier the general Fourier transform too. For all these transforms, we have the same property. So that's another problem. Now let us have another kind of problem here. So let's consider a function f of x is equal to e raised minus of mod x when x greater than 0. Find the Fourier sine transform, and hence evaluate integral 0 to infinity x sine x divided by 1 plus x square dx. So we have to evaluate this particular integral. That is our important task. And anyway, we are provided with a hint. We have to first we have to calculate the Fourier uh, sine transform for a sine transform of the given function f of x is equal to e raised to minus mod x when x greater than 0. Since x greater than 0, the modulus sign has not much significance. So the function f of x is equal to e raised to minus x. So the Fourier transform of e raised to minus x is Fourier sine transform of e raised to minus x is f hat omega Fourier sine transform is equal to root of 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity e raised to minus x uh, into sine omega x dx. Now, to evaluate this particular integral, either we can use some ready-made formula or something which is more useful is using integration by parts. So in either way, um, what we have here is 2 by pi into omega by 1 plus omega square. So that's the value of the integral. So uh, we can, the best method is integration by parts. So here if we use, okay, I think it is better to solve this using integration by parts. For that, before moving into the ready-made answer, let us consider the integral I equal to integral 0 to infinity e raised to minus x into sine omega x dx. And this is equal to, by integration by parts, it's equal to first function into integral of the second sine omega x. The integral is minus cos omega x divided by omega in between 0 and infinity, and minus integral of derivative of the first into integral of the second dx. Now, by applying the upper limit and lower limit, here this is equal to, okay, here it become x is equal to infinity e raised to minus infinity is equal to 0, and this particular term uh, and lower limit cos 0 is 1, e raised 0 is 1, so it is 1 by omega minus here again from 0 to infinity. Here we have a minus sign, here we have another minus sign, so it is minus. We have to do the same process one more time for the integral. To take this 1 by omega as a common factor, what we have is integral 0 to infinity e raised to minus x into cos omega x dx. So that's equal to 1 by omega minus 1 by omega into e raised to minus x into cos omega x. The integral is sine omega x divided by omega in between 0 and infinity minus integral of derivative of the first into integral of the second dx. So here we get a minus sign. Derivative of the first into integral of the second dx in between 0 and infinity. So this is equal to 1 by omega minus 1 by omega into Here we have an omega. Okay, anyway, between minus infinity, e raised to minus infinity is 0. So the upper limit vanish. The lower limit sin 0 is 0. So again that will also vanish. And what we have here is minus of minus is plus. Integral 0 to infinity e raised to minus x into sine omega x dx, and if you take this 1 by omega outside, this is the term which we have, and this term is nothing but the integral which we start with. So it is 1 by omega square into I. So that will give uh, I into 1 minus 1 by omega square, 1 minus of minus, so it is 1 plus 1 by omega square is equal to 1 by omega. So that gives I into, if you take omega square as the LCM, it is 1 plus omega square is equal to 1 by omega. That is I equal to omega square divided by 1 plus omega square into omega. So that means the integral I equal to omega and omega get cancelled, omega by 1 plus omega square. So this is how we evaluate the integral of this particular type. So our integral actual integral is e raised to minus x into uh, sine omega x dx. If you have some integrals of the form integral 0 to infinity e raised to minus ax into sine omega x dx, or e raised to minus ax into cos omega x dx, that kind of integrals can be evaluated using this particular procedure, or you can just write down this formula. The integral is equal to omega by 1 plus omega square, and just directly use this formula in related integrals. Anyway, what we have is the Fourier sine transform is given by root of 2 by pi into omega by 1 plus omega square. Now, that's the first part of our problem. We calculate the Fourier sine transform. Now we are looking for the value of a particular integral, and for that we take the inverse Fourier transform, and that will give f of x is equal to 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity the Fourier sine transform into sine omega x d omega. That is 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity. This Fourier sine transform is root of 2 by pi into omega by 1 plus omega square into sine omega x d omega. So that gives f of x is equal to is 2 by pi, root of 2 by pi into root of 2 by pi is 2 by pi into integral. What we have here is uh, omega by 1 plus omega square into sine omega x d omega. D omega. Okay. Now this is 0 to infinity. Now what we have to evaluate, uh, we have to evaluate integral 0 to infinity x sine x divided by 1 plus x square dx. So just compare uh, the integral which is to be evaluated and what we have here. Omega divided by 1 plus omega square. Here we need x by 1 plus x square. Sine omega x d omega, sine x dx. So here just interchanging the variable omega with x, and if I find out a particular value, put a particular value for x. Say if we substitute x is equal to 1 in this particular integral f of x, so what we have is if we substitute x is equal to 1, then it becomes 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity omega by 1 plus omega square into sine omega d omega. So in this case, these two integrals are essentially the same, and just rearranging the terms, what we have is integral 0 to infinity omega by 1 plus omega square sine omega d omega is equal to pi by 2 into f of 1, f of 1. Then f of x is e raised to minus x, and this value is pi by 2 into e raised to minus 1, e raised to minus 1 or 1 by e. So the required integral, if we rewrite the given integral in terms of x, integral 0 to infinity x by x sine x dx divided by 1 plus x square is equal to pi divided by 2e. So that is our required integral. So the concept of Fourier transforms is very useful when we evaluate uh, a certain kind of a particular type of integrals. So in this chapter, in this section, we go through a number of problems which can be addressed using either Fourier sine transforms or cosine transforms. Now, in our coming sessions, we will address some problems which can be solved using Fourier transforms in general, and uh, some problems which can be addressed using the concept of Fourier integrals. So for the time being, that's enough, and we'll meet again with some problems on Fourier transforms. Thank you.